Hello. Oh my God, that's a lot of you. I'm impressed that you're all here today, seeing that there's snow, and I live in London, and there's snow, everything closes down. Which is quite funny, because all the people with 4x4 cars could use them once a day, but they never do, because the schools close down and things like that. So today I was asked to talk to you about apps, and to talk to you about what's happening in apps, and I don't know why I chose that title, it's actually rather silly, but conference organizers always come up with like, say something, we need your conference outline today, and I always write it on the flight over. So I'm Chris Heilmann. You should follow me on Twitter as Code Poet, because if you don't, then terrible things happen. My social media expert told me that's what you should do and tell people. And there's a curious fact about Stockholm. Who here is not from Stockholm? Have you also realized this? This seems to be the only city on this planet that's actually in a conical shape, where you have the tunnelbana on the bottom and the icy slushy wilderness on the top. And you realize that when you go out of the wrong exit in any of the train stations, because in between the two exits it's like 2 minutes walk in the station. As soon as you're up on the ground, it's about 4 miles of really winding little roads that you have no idea where to get to. I'm in Hornstull here, and there's like the 2 exits are 2 minutes away, and the other one is like walk around an island and a Hampshire, and like you need 5 minutes to get somewhere. It's amazing, it's conical shaped, I'm quite sure that's the case. And asking for directions is really not fun, because you get street names like this. And this is not a street name. I'm quite sure that is somebody from an Eclipse user trying to get out of Vim. And they're random. And of course you don't pronounce it in any way that is predictable or anything like that. It's quite fun as well. So you might have realized that there's an error on the JFokus website. And this is this one here. I'm not working for Mozilla anymore. Since yesterday, I'm actually started to work for Microsoft. I'm not a principal evangelist any longer. I'm now a senior program manager, and I'm working with the Spartan team to get HTML5 and open source more into Microsoft, and developers to work for all browsers rather than only for one. Nothing will change. Everything stays the same. There's no introduction whatsoever. Nobody talks at my slides and tells me what to do. And it's just the same thing that I did for Mozilla before. Ah, shit. So anything is the same that I said before. Nothing will change. It's HTML5 and open source and these kind of... Okay. Seriously, so this is about apps. I want to talk about apps with you. And apps are interesting because apps have been the thing. Like, oh my God, it's a big change in IT. We don't get things on CDs anymore and install it on a PC. Instead, we go to a marketplace and buy something as close and download it and install it and uninstall it as well. So there were a lot of promises about apps, what apps can do. For developers, there's an app for everything. Out of a sudden, it was much better when you want to go to the airport to download an app first and find out where the bus is going rather than going to Google and asking where the bus is going from. And for developers, we were being told that apps are amazing because first the platform does everything for us. It's much easier to reach the clients, to make lots of money, and to not have to worry about technology because the platforms do that for us. As developers that have been around for a long time, of course we know this might not be the case. But it's interesting to see how these things took off. There's Google Trends comparison between learn to code, learn to program, and make apps. And make apps just went all the way up. And it was interesting to see because everybody's like, oh, I can make an app without coding. That's not happening. We did it on the web with what you see is what you get. Like, it's still not there. It fascinates me. In 2015 it should be. But making apps was the big thing, and people didn't realize that it's as much of an effort to build a good app as it is to build a good website, a CRM system, a database, whatever. It's just another form factor of software. So let's look at some platform stats that are going on in the market there. iOS absolutely owns the high-end space. People who are spending a lot of money, have a lot of money, will get an iPhone because it's a status symbol. It's not only that it is a smartphone, it's like the coolest, newest iPhone. That's why they can sell it without having many new features in there. And the smartwatch coming up from Apple will fly off the shelves. People will use them. And my favorite about iOS is when something comes out, the first 20 minutes on Twitter is like outrage. Everybody hates everything that changed. A day later, they defend it to their death, that it's actually the best thing ever and that all the other platforms should do it as well. Which is interesting, but fair enough. Android is the winner in numbers and mobile reach. Like when you go worldwide, Android is the platform that people have, and the numbers are immense. And there's sometimes these outrageous things happening. In India, the other day I saw when you buy one full-price phone, you get 5 free phones with it. Like really old phones for your whole family. And you're like, whoa, this is incredible. You don't get that here, but not yet. Developers show interest in Windows Mobile. Well, the Windows Mobile market is interesting. So all these facts that I have here are based on a 10,000 developer survey. The URLs are in the slide deck. The slide deck is on SlideShare. I'm not making this stuff up. Otherwise, I would have made it up differently. I would say, oh, HTML5 is the best thing ever, and nobody uses native platforms, but they do. Other platforms share a small percentage and love from enthusiasts. You got like Sailfish, you got Firefox OS, you got your BlackBerry, you've got the things that people like, and they defend it online as well, like nothing else. 255 million units, 85% of the market is Android, which is good for you guys because we are at a JavaScript conference. Something happens here. 18,769 distinct devices, 11,000 the year before. This is not a carpet. This is actually showing all the devices that are in the market according to that survey in the size, how many people are using them. And it's quite interesting that the cool devices that I'm using, like the Nexus 4 and the Nexus 5, are much, much smaller than the, in this case, the Samsung Galaxy S3. So these are all the devices that you have to test on if you want to build on Android. The sad thing about this one now is that, and I've been complaining about that for a long, long time, that hardwiring the browser or the rendering engine of the web with the operating system and the device is not scalable and is a very, very stupid idea. But this is happening here. Most of these devices will not be upgradable to Android Lollipop. And Google just announced that they're not going to even give security updates for these old phones. So what we're going to have here is a botnet running on Android, if you think about it. It just scares the hell out of me, but it's good reason for Google. I've realized it doesn't make sense to support all of that. It's good business reason, but it's dangerous, and I think we should not make that mistake over and over again. So what's about that getting rich with apps thing? Like, oh my God, you're a web developer, you get a normal paycheck. What the hell? You could have an app tomorrow and be really, really rich. The amount of offers that I got to become an entrepreneur and do a great app, most of the time some American app for a European market, is incredible. Every week somebody comes up. If you look at the app revenues, it's quite interesting. There's the have-nothings, which is 47% of the market. This means that our people, their app makes less than $100 a month. And that's the whole sale of the app, not like one user or something like that. Then you got the poverty-stricken people, which is $100 to $1,000, which is 22%. $1,000 to $10,000 is 19%. And then you got the haves, which have more than 10,000 for an app per month, and it's 12%, or Kim Kardashian. And you know what she had to do to actually become so successful with her app. She had to be a celebrity. So what I find with apps is the more the brand is known, the more people will use your app. So being an unknown brand will not make you a big success. If you have already a success, then an app is a good form factor. Most apps are not enough to sustain a business. 50% of iOS and 64% of Android apps are less than $500 each month. And that's of course things that TechCrunch and others don't tell us. Be surely games are different, right? Games, everybody plays games. You just go on the train here and everybody does these amazing things, you know, like colored blocks going on other colored blocks and then going away. Innovation, something new there. 30% of developers create games, 55% make less than 500 each month. So a third of our app market is betting on something that doesn't make much money but looks easy enough to do. And all of our performance studies are about, oh, your app is not good enough, or your platform is not good enough because I can't make games on it. The target markets are interesting. Most developers actually target consumers. Others target professionals, like B2B things, or like even developers. and only like 15% target the enterprise. Because consumers is where the money is. Consumers is where the users are. Actually, the interesting bit is that the enterprise market is where the most money is. You're 2 times more likely than have more than $5,000 a month with your app in the enterprise, and 3 times more likely to make $25,000 a month in the market. Because you have a captive audience. These are companies that have users already. They don't have to spend extra money on finding users. They want to have applications to make it easier for their people out in the field to sell things, to talk to clients, to do these kind of things. So enterprise is actually also in the app market where the money is. Aren't you lucky that you actually learned Java? The app types and news are interesting as well. Health, entertainment, lifestyle, social networking, and games. Social networking beats everything. Games is the next one. So share your photos with your friend, share your food with your friends, share far too much with your friends, and play games on the train, which is always fascinating me as well when I'm out of battery and I just want to send some very important text and next to me somebody's playing games for 5 hours. Interestingly enough, as well, yesterday a new thing came out, zombie apps. Not like Plants vs. Zombies and other zombie apps, but apps that are in the marketplace and are not found because they're not on the first 300 listing results. And this is a massive thing. This is iOS only. So 85% of the apps in the marketplace are actually never found in the marketplace, unless somebody knows the name of the thing. So if you create a new app, call it exclamation mark, triple A, because when somebody lists it alphabetically, at least you're going to be the first one. And this is steadily rising. Like in December it was 85%, in January it was 74%. So the whole idea of like, it's much easier to sell your software in a marketplace because people don't find things on the web is getting on its head somehow. And more interestingly to me is that the rush is actually over, and I see it with myself. I don't download many new apps. I actually delete a lot of apps instead. Because I found on my phone I got like 50 apps and I'm using 3 of them each day. And more people do that as well. In the last month when this survey was on, most people didn't download any single app. Instead, they just use the things that they have. And what are the apps that people are using? Facebook is the biggest one, followed by Google and YouTube and Google Search, Pandora. So this is America, this is not Spotify, so they haven't seen the light yet. And Weather Channel and Shazam and Yahoo Mail and all these kind of things. So people are using the things they're using on desktop as well on their mobile phone. Duh. Why? Because there's so much work to be done in there. They have their friends in there, they get messages coming in. They have something to do already. They choose what they want to do rather than to spend extra time and effort to install your app, to download it, to do something with it. And especially when your app asks them for everything on their device, people don't do that anymore either, so that's good. Facebook is by far the top app, 150 million unique visitors, 160 million total US users, 70% penetration. Google is the biggest mobile app publisher. If you had asked that, nobody would say Google would be that one. But if you think about it, Maps, Google Now, Gmail, as soon as you have an Android, you're probably using Gmail as well. As soon as you have an iOS device, you probably want to have a better mail app in there. There are no games in top 25. And this is not uncommon. People do play games, but they stay with one game for a long, long time. But most games last about a month, and then you have to give them a new spin. Like, you don't call it just like, I don't know, Color Blocks, but you call it Color Blocks Soda, or Color Blocks Chocolate, or whatever, and you find branding things to make it interesting for people again. The app bubble is bursting. People are not really that excited about apps anymore because they have the stuff that they're using. They realize it's just another way to communicate with the world, another way to watch movies, another way to read books, another way to consume. And I find this disappointing because when smartphones came out, I was super excited. I was like, whoa, I can access the camera with only 6,000 lines of JavaScript and 5 files. And now we have it inbuilt with like 1 line of code and we're like, yeah, nobody cares any longer. But it's amazing what we have in our pockets, the amount of storage, the amount of speed, the amount of battery life that's getting better and better as well. I love going out and just getting the phone out and say like, where's the next train station? Okay, it's there. I can walk around and I can find that it turns with me. This was what I did in Hack Days 8-9 years ago as like a future concept. This might be coming soon. Like voice recognition, if you don't speak Swedish and you have a very clear Californian accent, really works. So what are the reasons for the app bubble to burst? Why am I saying this and what's going on there? I think there's a few of them. The first is OS complexity. The operating systems themselves have realized that they need retention from the users. So more and more functionality goes into the operating system itself. Like every operating system comes with its own cloud platform, rather than like, oh, do you want to store your photos in Instagram or in Yahoo or on Dropbox? No, store it please in our cloud that comes with the phone because we sync it for you and nobody will ever reach that data because we keep it really, really secure. It's the cloud, please trust us. Today's new iPad Air experience consists of 23 or more steps, no less than 3 iCloud services when you set the thing up. I don't think this is what Steve Jobs said when he went on stage and talked about magic. I don't think that's what he really thought would be a good thing. But it shows that the market has been saturated. People want more and more and more. And as developers, we know more features is better because the user choice, users don't want simple things. They want to spend all the day in the one thing. They really do not. Maybe it's easier to have just one cloud service or not at all. But it's Nexus is the same thing. Contrast, Nexus experience consists of only 8 steps, but a 235 megabyte update. Mandatory, no way around it. So when I'm on my new SIM card from England, where I pay £2.50 per megabyte, installing my new Nexus device on that one is probably not the cheapest thing. It's probably more expensive than buying 5 of those devices. But it's getting more complex because there's more functionality in there. And I like that functionality, I have to say. Google Now, Cortana, or whatever is on iOS, I'm not an iOS user, is great. Like, why do I need 10,000 apps when everything is in my updates, when everything comes in my notification bar, my upcoming flights, the weather, my friends' birthdays, all of the things that we build apps for and people installed apps for in the past are now actually on the operating system themselves. And in my case, most of this doesn't come from the app talking to the notification center, but actually from TripIt getting it from my emails. So we give a lot of functionality out on the web, and operating systems on mobile now actually leverage them and give them to me in a nice fashion. Why should I build another weather app that people install? Probably they will not. Actually, a lot of people here do the Norwegian one in England, in Sweden, which is kind of bizarre, because in England it doesn't matter because the weather's always crap. It doesn't matter which one app you use. The other problem is, of course, that apps are needy. And they have these freemium annoyances, like a Tamagotchi was in the past. Like, Tamagotchi was like, feed me, play with me, do things with me. And every single app does the same thing on my phone now. There's a new gift in your game. Do you really not want to play the game right now? Please, there's a birthday of your friend that you just connected 5 years ago and don't know who that person is on Facebook, but please do something with me, give me an update. Every time I connect to wireless, it tells me like 8 or 9 of my apps want to be updated. Why the form factor of an app then? Wasn't the idea of an app that you have the whole thing working offline in your pocket and it doesn't need to upgrade continuously? Why do I need to download 12 meg to get a new character in the game that is about some American holiday that I really don't care about at all? But this is what's happening. These are these needy little things. The freemium model is my most annoying thing there. It's just broken. It's nothing else but gambling and making people addicted to your application. And that just is, to me, evil. This is just not innovation. This is not 2015 to me. So what things are coming? This is my corporate thing. No, I just was really excited about that announcement. That the whole what's in the movies is not that far away. Technology is moving away to something else that we haven't done yet. New form factors. Smart star, everything. Smart cars, smart fridges, smart toasters, smart tunnelbana, whatever. Internet of Things, these watches, the wristbands, these kind of like smart bands. I always like it when people are like, oh, it makes people healthier. You know, because now you can have your steps every single day. And you're like, yeah, much like these stationary bicycles in the 80s made people healthier, that are now in the basement that nobody uses any longer. I just start getting like, you haven't walked enough today. So? I bought you, you're mine. But Internet of Things is going to be a big interesting bit, especially when it comes to connectivity, because our connectivity isn't quite there yet. In Sweden, maybe. England, not so much. There's no screen. There's only data and messages going back and forth. And I like that, because as a web developer, I always knew I have no idea what the screen size is. I have no idea what kind of resolution you have. I don't know what you did to your font settings. You can mess with everything I do. So I wrote software that was clever enough to not assume anything. And with the form factors of mobile, and especially the first frameworks that came out, oh, this is the size of an iPad. This is the size of an iPhone. That will never change. All of this changes all the time. Think about data. Don't think about form factors. An app is just another packaging format. A mobile phone size is just half a year now and will change by something else. Growth happens in the emerging markets. India, Africa, the places that we don't talk about. This is where the real users are, the real next users are, because we are in the Western world, we're already spoiled. We have one phone, we get it updated every year, okay, fair enough. But we don't really care any longer. We're bored with it already. We just complain that the newest TV shows are not available on our phone while we're on the train. My God, like, think about real problems and think about real people at times. Day-to-day computing is not about flying cars. It's not the like, oh my God, everybody's beautiful and base jumps for and kite surfs all day long and all your users have more money than they need, that's why they want to give it to you. No, it's the scrappy people on the planet that are out there. You're disconnected all the time. You're bored of technology. You just want to have entertainment. So the end user that takes on every technology and becomes part of it, I don't think that really exists. Connectivity is not a binary state. This is just one wireless in a hotel where I was in another conference, jumping from like great to not available to there in like 5 minutes. And this is everything that we have. Connectivity is not going to change, especially in America. Copper wire in the ground is not easy to replace within a short amount of time. So think about making your applications properly. So what can developers do? Let's aim to build a solid foundation consisting of small bits of working code. Don't think about building an app. Think about playing a service. Think about the app as one of the form factors, a website as the other form factor, a smartphone as the other form factor. Think about what software can do. Software is like water. You put it in a jug, it fills the jug. You put it in a bottle, it fills the bottle. That's why it's also really, really funny when people try to make software not copyable. It's like selling water that's not wet. You can't do that. Software is there to fix itself for the end user's needs, so let's do that. 40% of iOS and 42% of Android developers don't use the native language of the OS. Instead, they use all kind of stuff. They use HTML5, C#, Objective-C, Java for Android, C, C++. I've seen Ruby, I've seen Python. You can use any language that you want. HTML5 is the one that I want you to use. The sweet spot to me is between native and app. Web. Both have good things for them. I think the app format, if it really works, does one thing well, works offline, is on my machine, great. Love it. The web, hey, there's an update to our website, please pay for it. Not gonna happen. I just load the website, the new functionality is there. That's also great. Technology on demand, functionality on demand, that's great, let's do that. Let's find the sweet spot in between the two. Let's build solutions that do work offline. That is my main thing. I'm always on planes, trains, I'm always somewhere. If your application just shows me a spinning bar all the time, no. I don't want to use it any longer. I think LinkedIn by now is just a collection of spinning loaders. I don't know, I can't use that thing any longer, it's just annoying. Do interact with the platform, payment and login. If I download your app and the first thing inside the app it tells me to sign up for something, you just made an enemy. You just made me unhappy. I mean, you're Swedish people, you'll probably set all the wrath on those. You go to the app market, give it 1 star and say like, this app is not really good, is it? Pure Viking wrath going on there. Don't ask for more than you need. End users should not be conditioned to give every app every access to their phone, to their address book, call their mom and ask how she is. Because people don't read that stuff. Like the biggest lie on this planet is, yes, I read the terms and conditions. We don't. It's like, oh, I want to play games, fluffy animals, yay. Use the technology that delivers the best result. I've been to a meetup here at JWave, and somebody showed that they did like native controls for the buttons and the scrolling, and web views for the data maintenance. And instead of one web view, they had 3 web views to keep the memory consumption of them low. Worked perfectly. I'm not saying write everything on the web. Use the technology according to what it does best. Have atomic updates. Don't make me download 15 meg because you have a fluffy new character in that game. Download that with a service. Have that in your app. That makes much more sense. Have a service, not an app or a certain platform or form factor. Things move fast, they change all the time. We have the tools even outside the native platforms. The biggest thing when I worked on Firefox OS was people always like, oh, our Java tools are so great, and on the web I don't have any memory profiling, I don't have any performance profiling. All of that stuff exists now. Please, please look at newest browsers, I don't care which one. Just take a look at what we have, because we have great stuff in there. The most important bit is performance. Doesn't matter if it's native, doesn't matter if it's a website, don't show me a loading animation for 5 minutes. And we got great tools there. And still, we build things that are just ridiculous. The average website out there is about a meg big, 2 meg big, and has 999 to 2,000 connections. What? We told you for years that every HTTP request is very, very powerful and very, very expensive. Don't do that. When the LG watch came out, they had a 55 megabyte responsive web design. 54 megabytes, but it's responsive, so that's cool. It's just like, I tried to look at it, it's still loading at home, so I will check it when it gets home. So how slow are we? There's a great tool called Web Page Test. Webpagetest.org. You just go there, you enter a URL, you select a server from somewhere on the planet. So in this case, we took an American server. And then you select the connectivity speed, and it will start loading the page for you and do all kind of analysis on what the page is supposed to be. And once you have this test back, you get like a test result from A to F, what you could do better with your website. And you get an insight of how much CPU was used, what kind of content breakdown was there. So all these Fs are the bad thing. You click on them, you find out what you did wrong. You even get a great video of your website. So this is the JFokus website on a 3G connection from the US. Starts after 3 seconds, starts loading more and more and more, and becomes more responsive after 11 seconds. So after 11 seconds, the onload handler has finished, and you can start scrolling the thing. Custom wisdom on this in user testing is that 1 second you should be there. 3 seconds you should be interactive. Otherwise, people do evil things. They start listening to Nickelback and things like that. They actually just discard it and think something is wrong with their phone and blame the internet provider or blame their phone. So 11 seconds, not too good. But there is a mobile version, so that's okay. Bit faster, 2 seconds, coming in and taking a lot longer to load for some reason. So what I've been told after I've been told off for telling bad things about the conference that I'm speaking at, is that they want to do something during the conference to see if they can fix that a bit, because 20 seconds on mobile is a bit much. But the inside of that is ridiculous if you think about it. Like, I would have loved tools like that when I started as a web developer. There's no magic in there. You know what went wrong and you can fix it. So performance tools and testing are a big thing. This is a talk by Adios Mani from Google at CSSConf, where he recoded the CSSConf website as it was on GitHub during the conference to show how to make it much faster, and he shows all these tools bit by bit. So take a look at that and play with that. Browsers are consumption and creation tools. It's not only for end users anymore, it's for developers as well. The amount of stuff that you can do in a browser with like the remote debugging and like step debugging, memory heap analysis, CSS editing, HTML editing, JavaScript editing directly in the browser is incredible these days. Browsers are emulators and remote debuggers, so I can connect my Android device or my Firefox OS device and debug it in the desktop browser, because debugging on the phone itself is not fun. You can also simulate a device, and you can simulate orientation here, for example. That works. That is in the browser. This is Chrome. Firefox has something like that. Internet Explorer has something like that as well. But Spartan has something like that. I don't know yet. It just started yesterday. New technologies of the web bring us a new fidelity. WebRTC gives us like Skype-like calling, also peer-to-peer connectivity, WebGL, of course, 3D stuff, web audio, playing music, generating music, web VR, visual reality stuff. Many, many things are coming. And they're all in the making, and they're all coming to the web, so it's really not that far off from native platforms any longer. Offline web, as I talked before, is a very important thing. Service Worker is a technology that is basically a router in JavaScript. So you have full access over the network connectivity and can control every part of the way. We had offline with App Cache, that was a magical solution. With Service Worker, you got full control over it. The only problem with it is it only works with HTTPS. So if your servers are not HTTPS, that technology will not be available for you. But you also make your server available for every attacker on this planet anyways. So HTTPS might be a good idea to go to. Web components in Shadow DOM is a massive, massive thing as well, bringing the componentization of like real environments, like fat client environments into the web. It's still a bit harnessed right now. It's a bit shoehorned because it's only in some browsers and behind a flag. But it's an interesting concept that's coming to the web to allow you not only to put things in HTML and get widgets back, but actually create widgets that are rendered by the browser natively rather than through the DOM and then through JavaScript and into the browser. So you can control everything on the client in a fully proper manner, in an OO manner. The state of componentized web is all over the shop at the moment. Like every browser has the standard is still in fluctuation, every browser has a different implementation, and the big thing are frameworks there. So there's a great article, if you have a lot of time, you can read through all of them. The big game here is that everything is about frameworks. React.js from Facebook, Polymer and Angular from Google, and many, many others out there. Which I like because it means we can use web components already, but the danger is that we become dependent on a framework. And we know that companies, when frameworks don't make money, are prone to actually shutting them down from under us. So let's push forward to these to these framework providers to support the standards as well. Today's technology is not going away. This was a great answer to a Quora thread about like why is JavaScript the only thing in the browser? Why can't I have Python in the browser or Ruby or Perl or VB? I don't know what people want. Hating JavaScript is like hating the internet. The internet is a cobweb of different technologies coupled together with duct tape, string, and chewing gum. It's not elegantly designed in any way because it's more of a growing organism than it is a machine constructed with intent, by Matthias Johansson from Spotify. And I totally agree with that. I've been a web developer for 18 years, something like that, and I see things change all the time. The only thing we didn't have is full control, and it will not happen anytime either. But what we have is little bits that are functional enough and flexible enough to talk to each other, so let's try that out. Paul Backhaus from Google, ex-Singer, CTO. If you build a web app today, it will run in browsers 10 years from now. Good luck trying the same with your favorite mobile OS, excluding Firefox OS. It's true as well. I mean, the stuff that we built for iOS 1, not really now the same thing any longer, but hardwired in the space. You cannot just change it quickly. There's no upgrade to a lot of from one version to another. So that's me about apps. I think the app market was interesting. I feel kind of smug that I predicted that it's not going to happen. It's actually kind of sad because for end users, I want to have good things. This is what we are here for. We are here to make people's lives easier. And software is flexible enough to do that. So let's not try to make software do one thing because it's the hot new thing. Write software that is flexible enough from form factor. I don't think it makes sense to write an app for mobile, for a desktop, and for a tablet. The platforms that we have should be clever enough to allow the app to actually change from the different form factors from one to another without having to rewrite it. And this is what I'm actually went to Microsoft for, and this is what I'm going to go for the next few months. So with that, I thank you very much. Tack så mycket, and have a wonderful day.